Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first meeting after quite a rich week of Citizen Oversight Board activities. I tell you what, if you want to get on a board where there's a lot to do, this is it. So excited to have some good conversations today. We will be meeting with Chief Ron Thomas as part of our agenda, and then the board will go into an executive session to cover some HR related matters about what we participated in this week. So hopefully everybody's got some good ideas for that session, and we're ready for a robust discussion. So a couple of matters of business. Our last meeting was November 4th, so it's been a while, and wanted to get a motion to approve the minutes if folks have had a chance to review them.
So moved. I gave Daniel one correction that I think you made.
Great. I'll second that. Motion to approve minutes. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Let's see, we have a new board member, but she is not yet on, so I will introduce her when
she just joined. She's just joined.
Oh, hi. Okay. Hi, Anna.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Doing good. So we're just kicking off our board meeting. Do you want to start by just a quick note of introducing yourself?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me, by the way, this morning. And just wanted to introduce myself to everyone. Good day to you all. My name is Anna Thallis, and I am the newest member of the Citizen Oversight Board. Some of you may recognize my name or know me from my time during the homicide trial of my daughter, my deceased eldest daughter, Isabella Joy Thallis. And she was involved in a shooting and a murder, June 10th of 2020. During that period of time, I did a lot of lobbying, and I fought for justice. I fought for accountability, and I fought for change. Prior to that period of time, and who I am as a person, a mama of three, Isabella being my oldest, Lucia, my middle daughter, and then my youngest son, Jacob. I am a Colorado native, Denver native. So I have seen Denver for the past, we'll just say decades. I don't want to age myself. So I've seen the changes. I've seen the economic growth, if you will. I've seen the crime change. I've seen many different things within our city. And one thing I would just like to express to everyone is that I have hope. I have never in my time observed such community in unity with people wanting change. And so I have hope in that. And I have hope with the COB, the Citizen Oversight Board, because I feel like we are a fantastic, amazing group of people, regardless of our beliefs and regardless of our political stance. I have hope that there is going to be change, and just want to stay encouraged and encourage you all. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining. And I'll just say, as a mother myself, your loss is unimaginable. So thank you for turning your hurt into, change for our community. And we're glad to have you on the board. So I think Daniel has shared your contact information with board members, and I'm sorry that you started on the week where we had 3 other meetings, and so I didn't get on board you appropriately, but I'm hoping to get some time with you in the next week or so to really welcome you to the board. So glad you're here. And if any other board members want to say a word of welcome, you are welcome.
Thank you.
I would just jump in and say welcome, and
I know we've all been very anxious to just have the extra set of board members joining us. So we're really glad to have you and excited, and echoing what Julia stated in terms of dealing with your loss, and really amazing to turn that into forward movement in the way that you have. So very impressive, and welcome.
Thank you, Daniel. Or Nick, I'm sorry. My apologies.
Hi,
This is,
hi. Go ahead.
no, you first, Stefan.
Oh, that's cool. All right. Anna, welcome. I know you and I have been in touch by email, and we're going to be getting together soon. And I look forward to that. And I want to echo what both Julia and Nick have said in terms of really needing and wanting additional board members. It's very important. We have a lot of work to do, and you've remarked about the changes that are being made, and the more hands on deck that can assist with that, we're all better off for it. I also, want to express my condolences for your loss. My daughter, who went to East High School, had mutual friends with Bella, and so I was very, very aware of the tragic situation, and my heart goes out to you.
Thank you.
I echo what everyone else said. I look forward to meeting with you. I'm glad you're on board. I saw your email when I woke up this morning. And so I look forward to connecting with you and having you on board. And it's good to have, always good to have extra hands and voices and other people participating in an important and wonderful work that we do on this COB. So thank you, Anna, for being here, and thank you for all that you've been through and the experiences you bring because of that.
Thank you, Terrence. Thank you.
I would
Go ahead.
and add that I appreciate, as a fellow native of Denver and Colorado, that you have chosen this platform to begin activism and to understand that this is about our community and the community needs to be involved. I extend my condolences for your loss and appreciation to going through the process, which I suspect was a long one, to be onboarded onto this board, and I welcome you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you. It truly is an honor to serve. I call it a service, to serve with you all. Having gone through that period of time during a homicide trial and fighting for justice in various forms of fashion, it was one of the most difficult but enlightening times of my life. And I learned so much about our judicial system, policing, everything, more than I never wanted to know, but more that I needed to know. And it stirred something inside of me that it changed. That's all I can say.
Well, I also just wanted to welcome you. I'm the current interim monitor for the Office of the Independent Monitor's Office, and I think you're joining at an exciting time. We're in the process, as you know, of getting a new monitor, new beginnings, and so I welcome you, and I also extend my condolences, and we appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, well, an exciting start to a new board term, certainly, with hopefully a new monitor coming on board. And, we should be publishing our strategic plan in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully you have a lot of energy and enthusiasm still, because we have a lot of work to do. I'll also remind the community and any participants that listen to this meeting later that we still have 2 board vacancies. So if you are interested in this work, there is a spot for you, and eager to have additional participants. I see Chief Thomas on, so I'll just give one more note about board business, and that is that we had 2 great community forums this week. And thank you to all of our co-hosting coalition partners in that. We had, just about 10 organizations help generate interest and questions and support the planning of our events, and had, I think somewhere over 100 participants in those events. So really, really awesome participation by the community. And, thank you to everyone who showed up and asked good questions. And thanks to the board for committing not 1, but 2 evenings of your week to those forums. So really appreciate it. And as I mentioned at the start of the meeting, we hope to convene into our executive session today to make some determinations about next steps there. So eager to do that. With that, Chief Thomas, I see you on, and if you wanted to do some introductory remarks, you're welcome to do that. And then I know we had provided some sort of outstanding questions to you that we have had with DPD. I'm just hoping you can kind of work through those and answer those questions, and then we'll get into some dialogue.
Okay, well, thank you. I do have responses to those questions that I guess we can go through. I can send them to you as well if that's a preference. Let me just for a second just welcome Anna to the COB. I know that we've met in a couple of different capacities in the past. Always good to see you. Always, very, very sorry for your loss, but encouraged by the way that you have used that to build strength and change. So thank you. I think the first question that I think was hanging relative to I think questions that were initially asked of Chief Payson had to do with staffing, application rates for the DPD Academy. The numbers that I have, 2018, we had 1,794 applicants. That dipped a little in 2019 to 1,376. Dipped pretty significantly in 2020 to 951. I would imagine that had a lot to do with the pandemic and some of the challenges that the civil service was having. 2021 spiked back up to 1,381. And then there was a question relative to attendance rates for each of the past 4 years. And I think it's important to indicate here that POST requires 100% attendance in our academies. So all of our academy attendees attended 100% of the classes, or the required classes. I think there may have been some occasions where folks, because of coming down with COVID and wanting to isolate from other classmates, may have missed some time, but they all were able to make up that time and get those hours that are required by POST and by our own even higher standards. So essentially the attendance rate is 100%. And then separation rates was another question. 2018, 69 officers separated from the department. 2019, 87. 2020, 78. 2021 spiked to 145. And as of November 11th, 120 officers have separated from the department. I think a question is, of the 100+ officers that left in 2021, how many did so voluntarily? And the answer to that is all but 9 left voluntarily. 2 unfortunately died. 4 were dismissed due to the COVID vaccine mandate. 2 medical retirements, and then 1 retirement in lieu of discipline in 2021. The question relative to an estimate of officers who left in 2021 as a result of either Senate Bill 217 or 271. We really don't have any way of measuring that. I mean, it's not a question that's asked upon exit interviews. I mean, anecdotally, I can tell you that the majority of people that left communicated justifications for leaving. Usually they were leaving for either because family was moving to another state, or they had gotten employment elsewhere, whether it was another police department elsewhere in Colorado or in another state, or just leaving the profession of policing entirely. But no one quoted as a justification for leaving either of those Senate bills. Best estimate of the number of officers that left in 2021 due to COVID policies. Again, we had those, I think I said four dismissed due to the mandate. I'm not aware of anyone who specifically left because they didn't want to comply with the mandate. There were a number of folks that that submitted either for religious or medical reasons. They were able to get be excused from the mandate, but everyone else complied or ultimately was terminated. Relative to body cams, question was, do you have any specific concerns about including the audio and the 30-second buffer that is captured prior to them actually being turned on? The answer to that is no, although there is significant data costs that are associated with that, but our current contract would allow for that additional workload. Another question relative to body cams is Chief Payson told the board that Chief White had done a lot of work evaluating body camera policies. Can you provide the board with any evaluation, finding, or memo that speaks to the question of buffered or audio or video recordings? We don't have a specific document that speaks to any of that. But I do believe that Chief White presented a number of overview documents that were published from his conversations with either City Council or others that I think are available. And then I think there was a question also about a couple of questions about mutual aid agreements. Does the DPD claim these documents to be confidential or restricted from public release in any way? The answer to that is no. The agreements describe an appendix which includes coordinating instructions. Is there an appendix associated with each of these mutual aid agreements, or is such an appendix to be included on a request made pursuant to these agreements? There is not an appendix supplied with the agreement. Rather, instructions are read to officers at the beginning of their deployments, generally at the briefings prior to any of these engagements. And I think that was it in terms of the questions that were forwarded to me. So I can forward this document to you that I just read from, if that's helpful.
I think that'll be great as a starting place, and thank you for working through all those answers. I did have a follow-up question on the staffing and voluntary separation. So it seems very variable across time. And do you have a sense about, what drives it to be higher versus lower, or, is that the policies that COVID policy, that kind of thing?
I think that, again, anecdotally, I think that we have seen over time increases in attrition rates. I think that historically we had been in the 80-90 range, and obviously we are ramping up higher than that. I think that just the difficulty in this current day and time to be a police officer, I think has led to folks deciding that maybe this is not the profession for them. I also think just contemporarily, I think that every business is I think experiencing a lot of the same. I think I've told a lot of people when I was sitting in the academy, I knew I was going to be here 30, 35 years. I just knew that. I don't think that the same can be said for current recruits. I think that they are doing this now. I think that they're doing it for noble reasons, but I think that that particular demographic, as I think every profession is experiencing that demographic. I think sometimes their desires change, their dedication to a particular profession seems to change over time.
Thanks, that's helpful. Any follow-ups on the data that Chief Thomas shared, or any other questions you'd like to ask board members?
Chief, could you clarify again I'm sorry, I got a little distracted on what you said about including the audio and the 30-second buffer?
That it can be done, and I don't know that there's any strong objection to doing that, aside from the fact that I think that there will be additional costs because of the additional data that would be captured and stored.
But you'd support it?
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So Julia, can I just send you these? Will that work? These responses?
Sorry, say that again.
Would it work if I just sent you these responses?
Yeah, that's great. We can,
Okay.
Daniel and myself, and we can pass them on to
Okay.
the board. I do have a sort of, I know we zoomed right in on those questions, and they were just sort of hangover questions from previous meetings. But, is there anything you want to say sort of about the state of public safety in Denver and, sort of general trends you're seeing at this moment, concerns you have, things that you're feeling, excited about, sort of any general.
Yeah, so I mean, and I think maybe I've shared this with this group before, but I have three priorities. The first priority is to reduce crime. Second priority is to reduce response times. Both of those priorities, I think, are significantly challenged by our staffing issues. I have some ideas to address those two particular priorities. Being more direct in identifying hotspots and addressing hotspots within particular districts that I think are responsible for the higher crime rates to really drive down those numbers, which I think will drive down workload overall. And then relative to the response times, a couple of strategies there. One, taking officers that had been in primarily non-response modes and putting them in a 911 response mode so that there are more officers available to answer calls, making effective use of overtime. There's a lot of overtime that I think is built into the 2023 mayor's budget that allows for overtime. And so just being very intentional and effective in using that overtime during high call volume times, and then really identifying those calls. We're doing some of this work now that doesn't necessarily need a police officer to respond directly to a location. There are a lot of reports that can be handled over the phone or referred online. I think there are a lot of services that are maybe better handled by other entities. We've talked a lot, I think, about the Star Van. I think that we can more effectively use co-responders and our victim advocates to do welfare checks and things of that nature. So just looking to kind of shave off some of the things that we have historically done, but maybe aren't, it's not necessarily, it's not important for us to do, just to kind of save officers time for emergency responses. And then my third priority is really trying to improve public trust. And I think that two of the ways that I think that we do that is by improving our level of access and being much more transparent in the way that we do things. And actually had a couple of engagements. The most recent one, I think, was just this past Wednesday. We are now holding crime strategy briefings in public. So we have a weekly crime strategy briefing where we look at data in each district to identify crime trends, identify challenges with response times, and district command staffs and their teams talk about their strategies to lower response times to address some of these crime trends. If there are crime trends that had previously existed and they employed some strategy, they'll talk about whether or not that strategy has been effective, and if not, what are they now doing to address the issue. So this is something that we do every single Tuesday, and we think that there's some value in letting the public see exactly how we do this, how we hold ourselves accountable, how we we really do use data to drive our resources and our activity. And so we brought that to the public a couple of times in District 6 about a month ago, and then just this past Wednesday in District 3 at Wings Over the Rockies had over 200 attendees.
And just one follow-up question, and Stefan, we'll get to you next. In terms of your response times and reduction of crime, do you have like metrics that you're aiming to hit? Reduce crime by X, reduce response times by X, or is it more sort of directional at this point?
It's more directional at this point in time. I mean, I'm aware of how our crime has increased over the last 3 years. And I'm aware of how our response times have increased over the last 3 years. And I'm aware that a lot of that is due to increased workload, and a lot of that is due to staffing challenges. So at this point, I really want to just reverse the trend first of all, and then think about specific metrics that we'd like to hit.
Thanks. Stefan, go ahead.
Chief, two questions. Number one, the community meetings that you were just referring to, the last couple happening in District 6 and District 3, what's your assessment of how helpful those have been, how constructive those have been in enhancing, public trust in law enforcement? And then my second question is, I know, your tenure as chief has been brief to date, but what's your assessment of morale in the DPD?
So the first question, I think that those two engagements were very well received. There was about 50, 60 people at the District 6 one. I think it was a snowy day, so that may have had an impact on attendance, but everyone that attended, I think, appreciated two things. I think they appreciated kind of the view behind the curtain of how we look at crime and how we adjust our deployments and strategies and things like that. So I think that was helpful. I also think it was helpful just being available to answer questions specific to individual neighborhoods, because the folks that attended were from various neighborhoods within the central downtown area. And then District 3, again, there were over 200 people there. I think a lot of healthy discussion about specific neighborhood issues that we were able to answer and demonstrate that we had plans. I think everybody felt heard, and again, had that opportunity to kind of see behind the curtain and recognize that that we are being responsive and proactive, if you will, relative to trying to prevent crime. And then relative to morale, I do believe that there is sort of a new energy within the police department, new leadership. I think that there are some things that I've done that I think are refreshing. You know, I made 2 commanders, and rather than just kind of pick 2 people that I thought might be best to fill those positions, I actually had a process to select those individuals. So I think that one, I think it created a level of fairness for people that were eligible for those positions. 2, I think that they were just refreshed to know that we were going about doing things a little differently. I do know, because I have a connect with the chief portal so that people can submit questions or concerns directly to me. And there have been a number of concerns about what are you going to do to continue to increase morale. We have initiated a morale committee where there's participation from not just every police district, but every division within the police department. They meet pretty regularly, and what I'm hopeful for is that they will submit a report to me of issues that they have identified where they think that you know, changes could be made to improve morale.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just another question on sort of response times. So I understand response times to be in reference to like a call is made and then the police show up. So, you know, how long that takes. And in a critical incident or, you know, other matters, sometimes that timing really is crucial.
Sure.
But then there's also, I think what we've heard is some complaints from the community about responsiveness as well. So not just do you show up, but then, you know, after a report is filed, you know, does an investigation proceed, or, you know, is a matter concluded, you know, my bike was stolen, my house was robbed, you know, that kind of thing. And does that get resolved? And so can you kind of speak to, you know, is your strategy around response times dealing with both things, or, you know, and, you know, in general, sort of what are your thoughts on both of those matters?
Both concerns. I mean, but I think separate and distinct. I mean, certainly we recognize that there's an expectation that when someone calls the police, that they want the police to show up relatively quickly, particularly if it's an emergency call. And so that is where our focus is in terms of, you know, figuring out what kinds of things do we currently respond to that maybe we don't, so that we create extra time and opportunity for officers to respond much more quickly to emergency calls. Responsiveness, though, to complaints that have already been filed, crimes that have already occurred, and victims wanting to know, you know, results, outcomes, and things like that. That is something also that is important to me, something that's, I think, been communicated. There's a number of things that we've already done relative to increasing that impression of responsiveness. Directives have gone out relative to making sure that detectives reach out to complainants, reach out to victims of crime pretty quickly after receiving a report when there are changes in status, making sure that victims understand and know that if long periods of inactivity go by, understanding just the customer service value of reaching out and making sure that they're aware, hey, your case is still open, we're still paying attention to it. There has been no changes, but just wanted to make sure you know that it's still very important to us. So that communication has been had. And then you know, the other thing that we do, and this I think a little bit goes back to the response time issue in terms of calls for service, is when we know that there are significant delays for some reason, like there's a critical incident that draws a lot of officers to one location, and so there's some inavailability to other lower priority calls that supervisors are, whether it's a supervisor or whether it's the dispatcher, reaching out to those complainants and saying, hey, listen, your call's in the queue, but there's an incident that's tied up a lot of resources as soon as there's an officer available. So someone, our desire is to not have someone call the police and then not hear anything for 3 hours. We may not be able to get there for 3 hours, but that doesn't mean that they have to wait and not know whether we are ever coming or not. So wanting to continue that contact either through the dispatcher or through the supervisors.
Yeah, I can imagine that both of those things too would have a significant impact on the public trust
Sure.
element, right? If you call and don't get help, or call and don't get your matter resolved, I can imagine. And then just one follow-up, and then Nick, we'll go to you. What's your hypothesis as to, decreases in responsiveness? Is that, staffing levels combined with crime levels, or is that, how we're organizing the beats or the districts, or,
why do I think that the response times have increased?
Well, not just response times, but responsiveness as well.
Well, I think as far as response times are concerned, it's truly a workload issue exacerbated by the staffing issue. I think that as far as responsiveness is concerned, I think both of those play a role as well. I think also, it could be that officers, detectives just have a lot to do, and so I think that being responsive is not necessarily top of mind, but that's a culture that I'm actively working to change.
Thanks, Nick. Go ahead.
Two questions, Chief. I think one is just kind of logistical. You mentioned these weekly meetings where the community can kind of come and listen to the strategy planning around crime trends. Is that available for people to participate online, or is there any kind of future where that might be a forum like this where people can, just log in and watch and see?
We could, so the two engagements that we've had did not have an online option. I think that that's something that we could try to create. I do know that each district also has they call them commanders advisory boards or commanders advisory groups. It's usually a monthly meeting where neighbors come to the station usually and meet with the commander, meet with the district staff. And I do know that there is a hybrid model that's in place there, so that people that don't want to drive all the way to the police station can connect online and still have the opportunity to hear the information that's being presented, and also have the opportunity to ask questions. But I think certainly we can think about ways to connect folks virtually to these other engagements.
Got it. I appreciate that. I'm interested, and I don't know that I would always be able to duck out of work to attend one of those, but I would certainly be excited to see, like you said, the inner workings behind the scenes and planning. My other question kind of involves a comment, and I'm just paraphrasing from one of the applicants for the independent monitor, and those were recorded, so I'm just paraphrasing. If I'm misstating what one of the things that one of the candidates indicated, then that, I'll apologize. But one of the thoughts that was sort of floated out there during discussions was a reduction in traffic stops can assist in a number of ways in terms of sort of community perception of policing in general, and that traffic stops are often seen as sort of like something where the police are interacting with people in a way that triggers a lot of stereotypes in people's minds. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about instructions or trends in the direction of reducing how frequently there are just like random traffic stops in conjunction with kind of what we're talking about here, which is just that response times are not where everybody wants them to be. Staffing is not where everyone wants them to be. So if there are officers conducting traffic stops, they can't be then quickly responding to the very emergent 911 shooting or whatever violent thing is, that the officers are trying to take care of. So I'm just wondering if you have thoughts about that.
I do. And actually I had a conversation a couple of days ago with leadership from ACLU about, I think, that very topic. One thing that I think that that we are interested in and open to is a recent discussion about no longer enforcing jaywalking, recognizing that there's very little safety impact on and quite a bit of disparate impact, I think, on enforcing jaywalking. And so I say all that to say that I'm certainly open to continued conversation about reductions in traffic stops. I do think that there is a safety element relative to traffic stops, and I think that the majority of our traffic stops are made for safety violations. And I think the conversation that I had with the ACLU, I think, was more towards like non-moving violations, which data may show that there's some disparate impact there, which is concerning to me. I think the law enforcement side of me is concerned about the recognition that often suspects involved in crime are often contacted during traffic stops, and that there is some utility and value in conducting traffic stops. But again, understanding that there often is a disparate impact. I know that we'll have much better data now that we're collecting data, in compliance with state mandate. But again, open to the conversation.
Thank you, Chief Thomas.
Anna, your question.
Hi, Chief Thomas. A quick question for you. I was watching the videos prior to this, and I noticed that there is an incentivized program that Sheriff Elias has offered for the general public for onboarding. And I was just wondering if there's something like that for the DPD to encourage people to join. And when they do join, is there some sort of evaluation that the new recruits go through while they are in training in the field?
Like a performance evaluation?
Yes, sir. To see if they are, truly officers, if they really do belong out in the field. So we're not just taking on every Tom, Dick, and Harry that chooses to
yeah. So I think I think as far as the incentive is concerned, I think that the difficulty with offering incentives on the front end is that that's a budgetary issue. And so we would have to get city council support. It'd have to be part of an annual budget, not something that I'm opposed to, certainly. And it may be helpful in getting additional folks in the door. But I actually am pretty confident in the civil service process in terms of getting the right people in the door. I mean, certainly mistakes are made, and hopefully we are able to identify those mistakes either in the academy or in the field training program, or pretty quickly down the road when a discipline issue arises, and we can separate from those individuals where we missed, obviously, or the process missed. But yes, so there are educational requirements, there are physical requirements in the academy. There is some social emotional intelligence components in the training, in the evaluation for them to even graduate from the academy. And then in field training, I mean, it's a process that you have to pass. So you have to demonstrate, one, a skill set that you can effectively police, and two, you have to demonstrate that you can, that you have the emotional and social intelligence to effectively engage in community. And one thing that I think maybe, I'm not sure if I talked about this with this group or not, but an initiative that I'm starting with the class that is starting on Monday. I think we have 30 or so new officers that will be starting the academy on Monday the 5th. But there's a concept that I'm hoping to implement Seattle calls it before the badge. And what they do is for like a month or 30 days before officers start the academy, they put them through a process where they basically indoctrinate them with the various cultures of the community that they're ultimately going to be policing. Rather than put them through a sort of a sterile environment for 6 months and then put them out on the streets and now finally start dealing with people of various cultures and various levels of trust and things like that with the police. They argue, and I would tend to agree, that it's helpful to give them that indoctrination before they ever do that. The problem in Denver is that I don't own them 30 days before the academy starts. So what I am doing is post academy graduation, there's about a week that typically is spent just kind of doing some orientation around the station and around headquarters and things like that, so that they know people and places and things like that. But using that week to really indoctrinate them with any community that they may engage in. So I've gotten commitments from like Together Colorado and some other community organizations to kind of help me do that, to kind of help me indoctrinate brand new officers into community so that they have much greater understanding before they ever go out there and start engaging with people and policing our communities. And so I think that may get even further to where I think you're coming from in, do officers really truly have the social emotional skill and intelligence to be effective police officers in a very diverse community?
Yeah. Yes, that's awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a follow-up question. Chief Thomas, good to meet you. I like the idea of the before the badge and indoctrinating officers for the communities they're going to be working with, but how about officers that are already on the force that might have been there a long time? Is there any ideas or process to provide similar support or screening for them?
Well, so we already, we've had a number of mandatory classes that do some of the very same work. I mean, we've had back to basics and respectives. So we've had a number of classes that we've mandatorily, we've mandated every officer to go through. So, and a lot of them speak to social emotional intelligence, respecting of various cultures. We even have citizens that are kind of helpful participating in that. The other thing that we did just recently is had every single member of the police department go through active bystandership in law enforcement. So, I know that there is a legal obligation to intervene in a situation where an officer is engaging in excessive force, for instance. But I think that I want to develop a culture, and I think ABLE, and it's proven very effective in departments all over the country. ABLE being effective in getting officers to intervene before there's misconduct. Making sure that when people start to say or do the wrong thing before it gets to misconduct, step in and say, hey, or I think maybe a better example is I think that there are situations where officers say and do the wrong thing because they're just not in the right frame of mind. They're angry, they're upset, maybe they've worked a long shift, maybe they've had a personal struggle at home. Well, their partner, I think, is generally aware of that and can see that this is starting to maybe go in a direction that it shouldn't, and tap that officer on the shoulder and say, hey, let me step in and take over because I don't have all of the baggage that you have. And again, that's generally not been a culture thing, but I think that this program has address that particular culture. And so I think that we are much more inclined to step in and prevent misconduct or prevent a negative interaction before it starts.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Terrence. Karen,
I'll-
too.
I'll follow Karen. Please.
Okay. Chief, there was a revelation revealed in the process of candidates giving the candidates for the independent monitor position, talking about their background. I don't know if you were privy to those discussions or aware, but one of the candidates had been a police officer.
Yes.
And as a result of an encounter that she had that seemed ongoing with a partner, and her claim that the partner was racist and open and discriminatory. We have a place for such an encounter to be reported and acted upon. If one of the police officers notices that kind of behavior in a partner that they are working with.
Yes, so we have anti-bias policy, certainly on the Denver Police Department. We encourage officers to report misconduct even internally. And in fact, I can speak to a specific case where an officer heard an officer, talking about how he enforces the law, brought that forward, and internal investigation is underway. So I think that we're even moving toward a culture where when officers see one of their coworkers engaging in behavior that they know to be wrong, that they know to be against policy, that they're inclined to come forward with that.
Go ahead, Terrence.
Oh, can I ask one other question?
Yeah, go. Mhm.
Going back to the process whereby cadets are recruited and then examined for, police department, is there a physical examination of their bodies for tattoos that may reveal membership or involvement with supremacy groups, for example? Or and also, is there media? Is there any type of Facebook or social media examination prior to cadets being accepted as such?
Yes, to a degree. So no, I don't believe that there is any physical examination. Like, first of all, the Denver Police Department is not in charge of the hiring process. The civil service is. And my understanding is that no, there's not a process by which they come in and there's some kind of physical examination of all of their body parts to see if there's some hidden tattoo that may be representative of a hate group or something like that. But I do know that there is a pretty robust inquiry into their social media platforms. There's a pretty in-depth background investigation into friends, coworkers, relatives, people that they've had encounters with. And so I think that there's great opportunity to identify people whose conduct is not such that we want them to be associated with the Denver Police Department.
My turn. Good morning, Chief. Good to see you.
You too.
So my question relates somewhat back to some of the training questions we've had. As the field training process and who the field training officers are very important, especially when you're trying to, change the culture of a department, or, it changed direction. And my question is, does DPD have a process by which they go back and, constantly evaluate whether the field training officers who are currently in place are appropriate as the department changes policies, changes culture, et cetera, et cetera? Because, you probably heard it when you were a young officer. I know I heard it, where some FTO will tell you, forget everything you learned in the academy. This is how we do it now. I'm not sure how truthful that is, but, it's definitely the one anecdotal thing that everyone hears about the FTO process.
Yes. Yes. So a couple things there. So first of all, we changed our training program and our evaluation process. So in such a way that we're making sure that the way that they're being evaluated is based upon things that they have learned in the academy, so that there's greater consistency there. Two, we revamped all of our training officers a few years ago, where everybody had to reapply for their positions, and so they had to demonstrate that they had the capacity, ability to train the way that we want them to train. And they are reevaluated annually, specific to their duties and responsibilities as training officers, and their effectiveness to effectively train new recruits in the way that we want them to be trained. So I feel like there are guardrails in place to make sure that we don't have rogue training officers that are indoctrinating officers with a culture that is not consistent with our values.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I know we're reaching the top of the hour here, and our board has a lot of discussion ahead, so I might wrap us up here. Any last questions for Chief Thomas?
Julia, you're frozen, I think. Oh, there you go.
Yep, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, let's wrap up this public portion of the meeting, and I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session in order to cover some HR related matters. May I have support for that motion?
So move.
All in favor of adjourning to executive session? Aye.
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 Oh.
Great. Any opposed? Okay, see you over there. Thank you, Chief Thomas. Appreciate it.
Thank you.